So out of the gates, what's the first thing? So more than likely you got some kind of a mini whiplash. I'm guessing you kind of fell more into flexion, right? When you
Yep.
fell. Yeah. So you
Yes.
probably had a little whiplash because you probably went forward and then your body had to like kind of seize up to kind of stop that forward flexion.
Yep.
And so it probably just strained. You probably had a little sprain strain in those back ligaments in the neck. And so getting some good soft tissue down back there will help. Making sure the joints are moving appropriately will help. The problem with like ligamentous tissue, it's more avascular, right? You don't get great blood supply. Where like if you strain your muscle, like a muscle belly issue, right? It's going to heal a lot faster because that tissue is just more vascular. It's got a lot more blood flow. So anytime you have avascular tissue, you really need good soft tissue support to really help break down fibrotic tissue, scar tissue, and then help that will improve oxygenation and that will improve blood flow. And of course, soft tissue and or red light therapy are all going to be amazing things to really work on the blood flow and the inflammation reduction aspect. So that's good out of the gates. And of course, like my good thing on my line, we use something called curcumin supreme, which is a liposomal curcumin. I like that. I think that's excellent because it has natural anti-inflammatory pathways. So like the big inflammatory pathways that you're going to see a lot of the medication use are going to be the COX pathways, right? Cyclooxygenase pathways. And so like cyclooxygenase 2 and cyclooxygenase 1 are going to be some of the big ones, right? Now we can do natural herbs to kind of help reduce COX-1 and COX-2. So COX-1 typically would be reduced by things like aspirin or NSAIDs. The problem with these things, they can be a little bit more irritating to the liver and to the gut. So maybe acutely it's okay, but chronically not the best. All right. And then we have COX-2 as well, which these were like the old fashioned like Vioxx drugs. Remember those like 15 years ago? Caused a lot of stroke and heart issues. Those are like our COX-2 pathways. So COX-1 and COX-2 are some pretty good ones, that major pathways. And of course, we have like our prostaglandin E2, which is an inflammatory pathway as well. And prostaglandin E2 is what drives constriction, and it's what causes more platelets and more stickiness to happen. And so we want to work on reducing some of those pathways. So we want to knock down prostaglandin E2. What's the best way to do that? Well, high dose fish oil or fish oil in general. Of course, a really good whole food, pasture fed kind of paleo template's going to be great. And you're going to reduce a lot of inflammation coming from conventional meats. Again, healthy grass-fed, pasture-fed meats better, right? Less arachidonic acid, which feeds that PG, that prostaglandin 2 pathway. Of course, keeping the insulin and the grains and the refined sugar, all that crap in check. All of that inflammation feeds these COX-2 and COX-1 pathways, right? And so we want to inhibit those pathways. We want to block them. So more COX-1, COX-2, the more inflammation is going down those pathways. So all the dietary crap sets the table. Like my analogy is, imagine you walk into a kitchen and the gas is on the burner. Okay, let's say it's been on for a couple hours. You smell it. Well, let's say you pull out your lighter, right? Just a little spark, boom, house is going to explode. Okay. But if you did it without the gas there, no explosion. Well, it's the same thing. If you have the gasoline going, that's a systemic inflammation from all of these things we chatted about that allows the little spark of an injury like that to set off this whole inflammatory cascade that's going to be a lot more, let's just say, amplified in the wrong direction, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.